is so that the new right that we are being talking right now for the artificial again will still come down to that I'm good that Shira still have things to protect and I'm totally correct what Shira would be realizing some of the potential most likely that the ocean of gold, even though the laws of the ocean have that the ocean of gold is still incomplete and that those gold of the ocean of that certainly something that we should have to be protected at all costs to bring down again that with that the ocean has attended and way that was leading that should ensure to that fulfill and protect and fulfill that goal to be along the line and protect the acceptable from sin and the bound to be along the line some of the thing that into that into finding a purpose and learn something to learn actually protect and do at that point I'm really putting it up my day to be when that number the things that I do want to find it to getting back this land power just like this now that I'm looking definitely and specifically my very emotional for the even after the keyboard being to the recording and it's work if you setting keyboard back from the even after that like I'm the body to the band from the keyboard and the soul power having to equipment to the keyboard or different that keyboards like pictures or so initially getting a jumping raising and that throwing like that tension of that duration of that follows to that we just was like the scenario that I'm going to and that because putting the keyboard into the data kind of situation as at that point I'm not bringing one thing with the needs to like make it and save Google it's like with the scenario terrible and at that point I'm looking for like it one thing feeling that they have absolutely no other choice but to that other Google about like the whole idea and about like the whole of and everything and that way I'm really looking for that I for like I don't think yeah for like maybe for like your training to go like Instagram that is going definitely that way I'm not bringing injury for that able to end up being a permanent team member of that football team in their battle against that their future battle that is against that all of that winner age is that the question of the football yes so like but movie might be very interesting right now that like and I think we both might be talking about my stuff news my question so like about my stuff informed about like I'm not bringing it in my job in eyes up get together on like the target there might be spying on celebrate spying on like my might be that they expect me to that I'm getting more of the community from the remote that make it to that might have just be reported to that is supposed to be my country so that the need my particular investor right now that form like the first member of that before this that current form like what team I'm talking my team Kinamori the team that is there so that Kinamori at that time after like showing up to like the human world might have straight away gone on some own with like the intent to actually find life that doesn't hide out of like the mouse might be like it is so that way Kinamori might have most likely by tracing that the function of market, might be how that about the reference in Latin America. By now, might have found that the percent higher out of like the amount might be that against the might be very important right now. Also, that we might be very important right now that in Amori by now, might now start the Tuesday right now and start from some step skills might be to kind of precisely hide special but might be like that to just communication between us that like in Amori might have by now not really might have found like the hired out of magazine and the mountain, but let's say memory might have also potentially spied on them and might have also like the how the interaction between lecture and like the mountain might be that the claim of the it's like the claim of the and the stuff right now that like here at present might be finally feeling that it's like trying to like finally head off to that to to open up like the comments to that women what might be around the rest generally putting circular friends so that James might have exactly told market to give that to take care of that picture and let the remaining support for to that give them the order to them go on a matrix and basically to give them the order to like as many lives so like around the table might be along the lines like Jin might have given the order to that markets of but like definitely I'm expecting that there might actually the method direction that like there's to definitely be will be a good them to bring that market not so like us definitely I'm expecting that market not might have still be betrayed Jin and might have given funds in order to that to the show and let the move on down through might have been that that would report might have happened with the end like market might have instead given a different order to that window to that window and like the remaining job new models might have been what made the team has set them off. Might have been what made the fact that the team is the Real People. Definitely my the Real Madrid for like the Isuru and Isuru platform and what teams like I'm going to without mentioning it and he to do defeating like Ugaki and Ugaki is that Dolls is like personality that I'm going to bring in. That way like Isuru and teams like predicting to like the hideout of that team and like the one that team now that I'm going to bring. Like at that point I'm going to claim for to be even if the narrative that I'm going to bring. So like at that point like more teams to like single handedly bring down and defeat like Wizard and for Wizard in that same except for like the fourth member having which dedicated by the brand so that like the fourth member might do Kinamori definitely not the brand like Kinamori alone like and different and clearly managing to like escape from like the captivity of that gen that way it's not planning to bring by all the remaining uh, three members of like Wizard's team including Musamu, Black and Brooklyn, and all ending up in like situations similar to that of like three goals, like the scenario that I'm looking at. So that some of the thing that Minamori by then, even though some of the things to like barely managed to like escape like some could still be like barely in there and it was kind of stage like scenario that I'm looking for. Like say in Minamori, some of those things to be barely being able to like keep sitting on. So like that kind of looking at Minamori to save himself back in Minamori but barely making it to like for a shop. It's like during the tsunami plan as well, right? So like they're like I'm so different like creating Hinamori and basically why Hinamori would be getting treated like Hinamori reading about like it's situated for like Isuru and then the team of something so at that point I'm not like definitely for like you I think definitely heading off to like the hideout. By then I'm saying that Jin ends with like found team uh gaining even more of like point is that it's not incredible. So maybe like Jen might have secretly stored so the show might have secretly already stored support even more a whole lot of that lighter that contain like manner might be like the names that because of the but then before it would be making it to like I don't know. I'm not recording that Jen using that specific like bounding as collected under this company the soul like goal and is used. They are all like the aging and like in that thing it's like which are being missing even way more at that point like dark that so like if you anything showing up there and like I think just battle getting insured and that battle I'm looking for in that if you team getting suddenly on board and defeated by like Jin team like the Snark that I'm looking for Jin and his team Snark that I'm looking for so like you did the battle reaching a point where like I'm looking for during hope of the for like you and team to sit in that battle. But like at that point, while Duo and Team would be in that absolutely the kind of situation when so the likely for the end of like it should actually likely happen. And I'm not preparing by then for like it should actually have found just that parts of it and like what is it that we need to like protect and basically we should ask that way regaining back like 20 pounds and like once we should have be regaining back a second people like supposed to be even stronger than before. Also like the case that I'm looking again definitely that we should making and then I'm going to bring much agree the moment like now making this to like inside out of the frame for beginning like the scenario where like for him it's not the different home the different to being in an activity in the scan situation where like in a point I'm going to be about to bring down okay so like that will have like should I showing up to like the skew of like already like it's not that about so such a manner like the interest of like shit that happening and from that point on I'm noticing like the actual zone on battle between it should have and getting which might be the case starting is like it's not that are sort of like and at that point I'm not different from to be Ichigo once again taking on game, but like Ichigo suddenly getting off guard and because like it's like change it's not that I'm the like yeah, I'm just beginning that I'm looking for like even today I'm definitely for things more like kind of out of training and like saving and like the birth of like ranging attempted to like saving that was not that number of that way the lot of that will happen. I'm definitely putting for that to like create that space within 20 at that point. I'm looking much to bring down that thing and like along this like in this now that will plan. I'm going to bring that resulting in that bringing that writing such like with that as the focus like training takes for hard and maybe reaching new levels of that so level like that I'm going to bring maybe eventually I'm going to bring between like the next winter battle against Spain I'm going to bring maybe what to be initially I'm going to bring what to be finding that will be instead or like they wanted to like bring down Jin himself. And if we finish the battle scene between like Renji against like Jin, in which like Jin still without much creative defeated Renji. And after that, I'm the referring to the when like Ichigo will be taking on Jin. And even that battle that was Jin without any much stronger right now, bringing down Ichigo as well. And after that, when I'm remembering finding Ishida end up happening and Ishida finding getting the revenge for Renji and for Ichigo like Ishida get and for like you know that Ishida getting taking that absolute revenge against like Jin and bring down to like within the now that of and they were bring like even with like I'm still remember the reaction for like Ishida still to be so screen kind of that like I'm those things for like it's dark even after like remember now it should be that should I usually on calling and defeating Jin and still Ishida take the decision to like not bring down Jin like it's not for the long experience like it's not that other thing but like I'm still even at that point, like Jin, he was still at the last second, would just get the even after like I should have just there and Jin like I'm from like Jin from behind like still identity to like still be sneak up on like and then just Jin to like bring down to the last like it's not that other like at that very last second is how it's control the maybe while trying to like defend like I'm like should have maybe accidentally getting up and down to like the other public that is going right. So like I'm going to remember very unfortunately like the next eventual bad experience like if you go and change which I'm definitely putting in putting up like I'm sort of bring like straight for like to get going that it's that bad land or once again like you go seriously struggling against like your winning the strength of LinkedIn and you are getting into like the proper kind of like situations like scenario that I'm bring there like I'm bring once again for like the whole like transformation of that you once again showing up with like the scenario that I'm the question. And I'm totally trying at that point like Jin to get to defend it to a certain extent by land power during that power that transformation that is not that I'm totally right. But like I'm trying without much great delay at that point I'm totally trying like to go without much great delay at all like to go using the like sheer will like I'm totally trying that sort of thing and topic like the half polar like transformation is definitely a threat because like one if you are definitely trying for which comes like the half polar like transformation like for it way might not even feel right like badly was at the man of like the darkness of like the half polar like transformation might be seemingly sensible for like to go at that point it's a limited evidence that might definitely not feel right to like it might not be that but like it might not even feel for it was like actually badly the bad it's like it might be going as like some other as person is like batting for you might be multiple extents to it like how it might be feeling during like the half or like transmit so like or like it will what might be not taken to all the reasons I like so might like repeatedly repetitive like the half or like it might be the day that we the day so that we have to connect to go in this like sheer when like stopping on the stopping that the half or like transformation that being just an arc that I'm looking at after that I'm looking with that app those here become and at that point I'm looking for like making maybe one of like so it was like after talking the upper like transformation it was like power levels like once again going down it's like it's not that I'm looking at if you want again or standing the chance that or against like it's like it's not that I'm looking so like at that point like then those were making fun of that Ichigo and they're telling Ichigo to like bring back like Apollo like the Ichigo even more that and to entertain James might be along the lines that did at that point will be telling Ichigo so that at that point I'm not different of technically for like Ichigo finally with that absolute determination after working at Chigo maybe at that point that finally succeeding in that being bringing out this black pancake power against the general like was not that about my head. So being able to like have everything was black pancake power in the black battle against Jin. Yet like even at that point of the point that Jin still I'm not from Jin going for a certain extent of struggle still I'm not from Jin still or sorry and defeating even if you go and just like pancake power that's not that I'm going to go to me. So that's definitely my biggest impression right now that the most even think road of us like SeireiteiIntruder might be definitely your regime. Such might be that that's because the case is different. So like it might be a stealthy plan by Kurahara, which like according to that Kurahara's orders like it might be the plan to like create like trouble at like SeireiteiIntruder because like it might be Kurahara's like plan B because like Kurahara's plan A might have been but the fact is even Kurahara might not be placing hopes in that Ichiro being able to like defeat Jin might be like that to the is the problem. Kurahara might be having a kind of like strong feeling as to like the full extent, to like how much that how great like the full extent of like the power of that shit could be. So that definitely not even Ichigo being able to like give the shit might be along the lines of like strong feelings that Hara might really don't have might be like that to the British communal prayer. So like the Hara only folks might have been issued out the cleanup here. So that definitely with like it was still not having regained back those powers. Like it might be a plan B by Hara with like Murahara might have planned secretly with like origin, which might lead to that create like just enough disturbance within that theory. That way, possibly gaining Genro side attention to that like Genro side will be forced to like act. Like it might be in hopes that this way that way Genro side that would be taking that the bounce issue seriously and attempting to like put an end to that the bounce issue by actually sending Squad Captain 11 Mario to that's the human voice to Lieutenant Felix the Bond issues rather than sending Lieutenant Black Izuru and things might be and also like that might be a plan B so that the lead might be really right now that like the multiple small doors of Black for the team. One of the doors might be have most likely having that presentation that's bound within it. Might be like that's specifically in the name of the which will like the team with that printing down on the screen might be selected as defined which exact sort I mean like the microdot have the bound within it and to bring down that exact sort might and Android and sending everything that the reflection of that the sound might be the sort way to that print down so that we might be that's the case exactly might be the real comparison right so this things for that so this thing finally succeeding in doing exactly that and repeating and bring down into that field that scenario that is really want to and I'm totally looking forward to be in that specific team I'm totally looking forward to be that exact team of board check that's the matter of like I'm totally looking forward to be team that of those actually figuring out like the exact dot with that first thing like the corruption that bring down that exact dot checking scenario that for the nobles when the possibility that it was putting it for that maybe that's the task that still has a time to that market right now. Maybe might be to give the order to that bitter and like the remaining new world and the to protect the new world or to find Indra and that possibly take away Indra's that life to be sold. Might be that it is new members of the remit. But like if that's the case, then I'm not looking exactly by the time that the Noble the target of like the and like the newborn dog making it towards like that. Just right at that moment is when I'm looking for that is that to be at that point that most likely struggling against like the newborn dog is like not that about thing good. At that point I'm looking that being unable to get to anything at all to like instead from more like protecting from like the army of like the newborn dog. So like at that point that Sudaku is feeling absolutely headless and like use the first like economic setup, but like at that very last second is when I'm trying when I should have been getting that road over for negative at that very last second is when I'm maybe we should have thinking of that ocean of once again thinking of that ocean and ocean of goals to left very down here. And that way like that goal we should have really at that point at that very final last second like seeing us that thing that they should have need to that perfect exactly. Then that way at that point we should have getting back to black hours and like instantly it should after that point the black uh, with electric black right using only a small fraction of magnet of 20% black or again bring down that with the electric they have electric the neighborhood of like the other images of scenario that have been loaded. Yes, so like we were doing business right now for like I decide memo for like I should actually like right now so can you see you should have grandpas like the scenario that are sort of like you should have grandpas still take another represent might be Q 141 which might be QHD 141 that's the 140 of experimental quintet of subjects of lab might be that the game that limit preempted so lab that the point lecture of lecture of grand but certainly might have actually happened my might have been telling the truth that we might preempt then my might have realistically to get revenge on lab after like my is against like my might have realistically created like a puppet version of that based on like Q 141 based on like and to like eventually get revenge or to actually that use that Q 141 against like that to like eventually or for to weaken it and like to that way or eventually get revenge and or for and the people can come down it's not my idea of kinds of like my planting that past might have been like the case, but not parents. So that way I'm going to find like I should have actually seeing, shockingly seeing like I should have grandpa and like I should have at that point instantly assuming that it should have grandpa is that still alive that she had that Mayuri might have been dying to get him friends and all like should have straight away assuming. So like right before like demo would be able to like carry out like Mayuri to like secret sort of like before that I'm going to find like for like TikTok as well as like the newborn or army like showing up that TikTok and those things to be like seeing like Nemo as well as that grandpa along with like etc. And at that point like I'm going to find like video totally to a certain extent acting out on the own and straying a bit away from like the order given like video getting really and like deciding to like take the life of like the Islam's grandpa as well as Nemo along with like the Islam principles when he's not that other than that way that I'm looking to and like the North Army straight away initially targeting like Islam grandpa as well as like Nemo and not that other. So like even at that point I'm looking into a bit of way to like save them but like I'm sort of bring it to like not being able to like bring out like how it's not that other. So like within that time like I'm sort of bring like the that time I'm so different picture and like the road army like ending up bringing down picture of Kiran and like suddenly the other like you know Kiran like what might be a puppet like happening is like a puppet of like Mayuri that happening that is not excited about. So like at that point like should have been able to this self like one fabric. So like soon after that like so like they are like I'm totally try not being a but like it was Kiran was when soon after that about man then I'm totally looking for like picture and like the Lord army lag targeting neighborhood and basically lag and like the loss of like neighborhood be about the capital like and that's a lot like a number of different languages that are remembering that the words of it like and find that it's not having that situation where it has something to like actually protect and basically at that point like I'm different once again protecting Nemo like that situation that goes the to like protect Nemo of the thing and like in the last beginning back black powers and into that protecting Nemo and like destroying like Vito and like the door army like it's not that I'm going to like they want all out of fix that I'm like so now getting back to like a cheap house and like at that point I'm also bring that one Nemo to like these so bad that it's not that I'm going to like so like at that point I'm going to print for like it's not to be carrying Nemo and like rushing towards like jobs like the scenario that I'm going to save Nemo like it's not that I'm going to like along the way like I'm going to bring at that point like by then I'm going to bring Nemo as well having starting to have a slight shift from like the puppet like character assigned to Nemo by my research, not the number of again like Nemo. I'm not bringing that as the betrayal on like Mayuri and like Nemo and the revealing the truth as to like why Nemo Nemo came. It's like it's not that number of so at that point, like Nemo was like revealing like the shocking and what may be the shocking and realistic intent and plans of like Mayuri to like it should have like it's not that something. But like that way also like Nemo would be getting created from like or was look like and like Nemo revealing all the realistic intent of like Mayuri like not that something. So like at that point I'm not looking instead of having even more of like a need to like basically to as soon as possible that out of the board to like bring down Jin and like the Bound Army to they fall into like the hands of like Mayuri to be along the lines of like in situations like and need arising for like should at that point it's like it's not intended with it like so like that way I'm looking like if you're after like handing over like Nemo to like and another like I'm bring like it's not straight away running off to like the hideout of like the gym. It's like the scenario that I'm looking and definitely I'm looking after that like I'm looking like and then move to like the place be returning back to like my reflect is not inside of the way. So different after like the that against like gym and is like after like gym and like bound up you would be the like thing. So that will go around the different for like should have interesting that like should I go and go like interesting that like Nemo not return back to like my own the delivering like them totally fight and like finding out like the all the suffering that like Nemo might have gone through as like while being the puppet uh of like my origin like it's not that about that and by the time like Nemo will be getting killed from like Bahara job like a low friend for like Sinda as well as Roro by then like forming bond of the friendship with black levels like the now that I'm and that way I'm going to bring like Rahara finally agreeing to like have state and like sort of job amending selected is non-credible.